This ain't my business, but I just know about it.
Well, what's up? We like to welcome y'all to another episode of That Ain't My Business.
But let's talk about it.
I'm your boy Nesto the Dunn, your favorite co-host in this Motion City.
It's your boy Pac-Man, the Hood's voice box, you know what I'm talking about. And we have a very distinguished guest with us this evening. Do you care to introduce yourself?
I am Councilwoman Tabatha Taylor, representing District A.
Okay, what District A? What do they compose of?
All of the North is me.
So
you literally have. Let's just start from Greenwood Road, near Hutchinson Street. Near Martin Street, all the way down Jefferson Page until you get to right past the family, right where the Family Dollar starts. And then I'm going to go down Pines Road to the north. All across Lake. Then I have Yarborough. I have Ford Park. I have Cross Lake. I have Cooper Road. I have Allendale, Lakeside. I have a small portion of downtown. I have Cherokee Park. I have North Highlands. So I have everybody all the way up to the north to the parish line.
You got the whole North, you know.
Yes.
I made a post yesterday or day before that, and I had a whole bunch of people on Facebook arguing about what the North composed of, and you know I'm gonna leave that for another day.
Yeah, I'm a Cooper Roadian.
Okay, Cooper Road.
I'm a Cooper Roadian.
What part of the Cooper Road?
I lived off of Juvenile Road, which is now David Range Road. Okay, that's how Cooper Roadian I am. Okay,
I heard that. So look, we was talking before the camera came on. You was telling me a couple of interesting things about yourself, and I'm surprised to know that there was a life of Tabatha Taylor before.
Most definitely.
Becoming a council lady, right?
Yes.
So, what high school did you attend?
I graduated from Fair Park High School.
Fair Park High School.
Yes, and DPO.
So that makes sense. Now you say you went to school with the great the great friend of this show. They call him Mr.
Craig Lee.
Mr. Craig Lee.
Yeah.
Mr. Don't Censor Me.
What?
Yeah.
Don't censor me. And make sure you know the state law.
Hey, I know that's right. So, what was it like going to school with Craig?
It was never a dull moment. Craig and I were in the band together. Craig has always been the master of cracking jokes and making you laugh, but also at the same time, he's always been intellectually astute. When you go and you have the classmates with Craig Lee, Lyndon Johnson, all of those people that you've seen sit in elected office, even Tanya Bogan, who was our clerk. When we were at Fair Park High School, we were just all these things were integrated into our brains. We knew that we had to register to vote. We knew we had to be a part of the process. So that starts our really grassroots effort of really believing in community. We were in the band, and so in Fair Park Band, you had discipline, pride, and organization. Those things were instilled in us. So band was just like an extension of our home life. It was organized. We knew what we had to do. We would march in the valley. If you know anything about Fair Park High School Band, and then you knew there was a valley there, we had to march it down with our feet. We would practice in the rain. Jerry Carroll Drew's dripping in our eyes. But it didn't matter because we had an ultimate goal. But the discipline that was taught to us transferred over into our adult life and lead us to where we are right now.
Well, that's good to see.
That's right.
At Harvard, what it is, they got like I think the organization Skull and Bones. I think that's at Harvard. so it was Fair Park had like a Shreveport edition. Like
You talking about like a secret society?
Yeah, all the leaders, a lot of our leaders in this country went through Skull and Bones.
Let me tell
allegedly.
you, well, if you were in the band under Mr. Cleveland White, you felt like you went through Skull and Bones and the heat. We didn't know what heat was at that time, but we were a family, and it kept many of us out of trouble there. We were very active, but Mr. White always taught us to be engaged in community. So when we say that it's an extension of our home, the morals and values that our parents instilled in us, then our teachers gave us the same thing. And so literally you had people that wanted to flunk out of school just to stay in the band.
Right.
That's how strong we were. But it was a lot of exposure. It was often a lot of times when us kids, went on trips that otherwise we wouldn't have never been able to do before if we weren't in a cohesive unit.
Right.
So when the band reunion comes at the end of October, it is very personal for us, yet, in honoring Mr. White, because he was the father, uncle, brother to a lot of us, that did not have fathers in the home.
Okay. And Craig Lee said he was the best
Oh, yeah, he was the best.
percussionist that touched Fair Park.
I would tell him that I was leading lady on the dance line.
Okay.
I could still
you was
pause.
on the dance line.
Yes, I was.
Oh, you used to get out. Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Okay. So prior to becoming a council member, you were in what it was, news?
No, actually, I graduated from Southern University.
Okay.
I graduated in Mass Comm.
Okay.
When I saw how much money Mass Comm paid, then I knew I couldn't stay in there because I needed to live at that time. But I always loved production, so I would work behind the scenes on various other projects. My roommates in college, as I was telling y'all earlier, I was the editing queen. So I just love when I see individuals in media doing y'all thing, because it takes me back of where we used to be in our rooms creating videos, creating content back in the early 90s, late 80s and early 90s. From that point, when I transitioned on, I moved to Dallas, Texas, and then I started to work in corporate America. That was a big change, after which I stayed out in Dallas about 5 years and then moved back home and started working in the casino industry. Then I started working for a workforce development entity, and then went off into business for myself. I began to do contract work for the city, as well as the parish, as well as the entertainment industry, and then for Southern University, other institutions, all dealing with workforce development training women to transition from welfare to work, then creating training programs for individuals that had been incarcerated, where they would have a meaningful job and they got training in lead, asbestos, and hazardous material. At that particular point in time, if you were incarcerated, a lot of times it was very difficult for you to find a job. And so I went in and created programs through grants through the institution for the city, as well as for Southern University, in training men and women. And coming out, I had one gentleman, I tell you, he had been out of Angola for 24 hours and then entered into our training program. From there, I began, when I had my son was then diagnosed at the age of 2 with autism. So that was another life change for me that created my voice even louder, because I was a mother and then there were no resources for children with autism. And so I began that fight. And I began that fight of going to Baton Rouge under then Representative Patrick Williams, who, and Floyd Kirksey, that would walk from Shreveport to Baton Rouge. They did this for almost 7 years, raising awareness to autism and childhood obesity, going in and changing the laws and facilitating changing those laws to provide insurance for families with children with autism, because there wasn't any insurance that was given. So a lot of my work there was all community related, but it was also personal at the same time. Giving back and being a part of the community is essential. And so you see Craig and I on a lot of things because we've been in a lot of fights together. He, Rudy, all of those individuals there. So
yeah, that's insane. You know, Rudy, my cousin, right over there at Lakeside.
yes.
So, from that point, what made you interested in running for elected office?
I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested in running for elected office. Because I had worked for elected officials before and pretty much had seen the process, I kind of just wanted to shy away from it until it reached the point where then former Councilman Bradford resigned, And I was like, oh, man, I'm going to have to get ready to do something. Listen, my friends and my family always say, Tabatha, you should run. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because I cuss. And I don't want to go over here and cuss somebody out, and all those things, because you needed to be so well composed in my mind. But when that opportunity presented itself, I promise you, I turned off my telephone and was like, I don't want nobody calling me, asking me about running for office. And when I turned my phone back on, I had 15 or 20 messages. It was like, what you going to do? I turned my application in at the 9th hour, interviewed with 13 people, but I knew that I had to do it because there was a pressing issue within our community at that time, and I wanted to be a voice. And so I had to stop sitting on the couch speaking to the television or anything else, saying what we needed to do and really get in the process. And so when you decide to run for office, so much of your life becomes an open book to a certain extent, but you have to give life to people when they don't know what to do, or if they don't have the opportunity to speak, or just get caught up in the trenches. And so when I see individuals taking this step, it makes me proud, because I know that it's not easy advocating. It's not easy advocating, because regardless of how well your intentions are, you're still going to get people that'll drag your name through the mud. It doesn't matter. But as long as you're standing on principle and your motivation for doing it is to benefit those that you know is going to be a benefit in the long run, you're going to have to do that.
Okay. So would you say the fact that you're representing like Cooper Road, Lakeside, Allendale, and what we call the North, Cherokee Park and stuff, would you say that representing those areas has given you a little more leeway than some of the other areas that have to represent due to the fact that you have like majority African American communities?
It's actually sometimes I think can be harder in that particular sense, because there's a different level of expectation. When we come into an office, oftentimes as African Americans, some think that we can do things just like that, and that's not, because there have been processes in place that have been long term that you have to turn around and look at. I'll give you an example. One of the biggest things for me are food deserts in Allendale and the Cooper Road. And since I got on the council, I've been working on this for 3 years, okay? 3 years. Because the problem for me is that you can saturate our area with liquor stores, but then you tell us that we can't have fresh food and vegetables because we don't have rooftops. And so some things are by design. And when you look at the Allendale and Cooper Road communities, these were individuals that built their homes from the ground up, and then things changed because we moved out of the area. So we moved out of the area, so then the makeup changed. And so you have individuals that take advantage of that. What I chose to do in being in this office is to give that community a voice. But you can't do that if you don't build relationships within the community with the people. So I like to make sure that, I try to keep everybody abreast with information that we have, bring those individuals to the table, and to let you know that you're no longer going to overlook these areas. And that if that means blocking 50 million liquor stores from coming into our area, then we're going to put up that fight to do it until you turn around and give us what is needed in our area in order to thrive. If you remember during COVID showed so many disparities in our areas. The one thing that you looked at was a healthcare crisis and what wasn't there. Well, I haven't forgotten that. Some people may think that, okay, we're pretty much back to I still remember what COVID showed us. And so I'm going to give voice to that. I'm going to work in a manner that I need to in order for us to fulfill that task. And so that also means working with my other legislators and working with my parish commissioner and state legislators to say, hey, this is the goal because you represent these areas as well. So we have that crossover appeal with that. And so the more eyes and ears that you have working with it, the better it is that we can bring these things back to our communities.
So what has been the biggest hurdles when it comes to things like not allowing all the liquor stores to take over, for, like you say, them put 50 million liquor stores in the neighborhood, or the fact that we haven't had, we got those food deserts, I said, like the fact that we have those food deserts, and the fact that healthcare is such a burden, like on the African American community. It seems like it's harder for us to receive care. What has been the biggest hurdles as far as getting those things accomplished?
There's a formula that is looked at with rooftops, okay? And so when you have a number of individuals that live in a community and they're renting, then the mechanisms change. But I have another theory to that when I was talking to a former councilman, and I was like, okay, so you're telling me that I can't support a grocery store, but I can support 9 stores serving liquor. And I think I don't need to tell y'all that this bottle right here is going to cost you, what, $59.99? But you mean to tell me that I can't have $3.99 eggs? But you can give me this consistently in my area, but you can't. You tell me that I can't have $2.99 tomatoes.
Somebody lying.
So you have the dynamics there, but I don't give up on that fight, because I will tell you this: the support for grocery stores and getting rid of those food deserts is. I also have support from the mayor's office and community development, because that is a real issue for us.
So Mayor Tom Arsenault is on board.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's a good thing, then.
Yes,
That's
correct.
a good thing.
Correct.
So let me ask you, when it comes to, because as a city council member, you are a lawmaker.
Yes.
Right? What are some of your proudest legislation proposals that you accomplished here in this city council?
Believe it or not, one of the biggest accomplishments that I had, and when I say large because it went statewide, was when we initiated the legislation for young men and women not going to jail for 14 grams of marijuana or less. Because going to jail for a dime bag of weed can ruin your life.
Facts.
And so at that point, when we passed that particular legislation, and that was bipartisan, because John Nicholson supported that legislation and he was the co-sponsor. Right. So only at that time, Baton Rouge and New Orleans were the only cities that had this piece of legislation. And so Shreveport needed it, and it was met with that level of opposition. However, one thing that stuck out to me was, I never forget then talking to former Chief Ben Raymond, and it was like, we have the state law. And so even though we had passed this law on the books, the state law would have superseded that at that point of, hey, if you got pulled over by the officer's discretion, they could still take you in. So,
hold 1 second. Are you telling me that at the time Chief Ben Raymond, was he in opposition to that bill?
No, he didn't say he was in opposition to it, but he pointed it out what the state law was. And once he pointed out what the state law was, I was like, oh no, we can't stop here. Okay. So at that point, Representative Cedric Glover was in the House. And so Representative Glover had been working on marijuana legislation for years and sometimes not being able to get it passed. So we took this fight to Baton Rouge to change the state law as well. And so that came with bipartisan support from Representative Glover and now State Senator Alan Seabaugh. Okay. And they worked together to change the state law, so you wouldn't end up going to jail for a dime bag of weed.
And I want to give you a round of applause for making that happen.
That's why you was able to make it under the bridge.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, you have, African American and our Caucasian brothers and sisters that smoke marijuana at the same rate, okay? However, the penalties were different because you had access to lawyers, and where some that did not have the means were spending the rest of their lives in jail. Now, I think it's still a fight in the legislature to vacate those sentences of people who have gone to jail, for a dime bag of weed, or if it's been their second offense. I've never seen anybody lose their mind for selling marijuana. The other fight that I had before being a council person, is that I went to Baton Rouge to fight for medicinal marijuana. Because my son started having seizures. And the only thing that helped my son was marijuana. So at this point, there was Monica Sullivan, who is another mother that has a child with autism, and there were 4 or 5 other mothers from South Louisiana that we went down to the legislature to fight for medicinal marijuana for autism, and to make autism a qualifying condition. At the same time, I believe it was Representative Kendall Cox that was fighting it for veterans and PTSD. I go back again with Representative Cedric Glover. When I fought for epilepsy, he went in to go and push that fight. He did the same thing along with Representative Rodney Lyons to go and add, and Attorney Ron Latier, to add marijuana, to add autism as a qualifying condition. So this is my thought process on that. You need to have a choice, okay? You have drugs with seizures that can do a whole lot of harm. And at this time, there are plenty of benefits for medicinal marijuana. So these fights of why you have up here comes from citizens, and it is on the record. I pretty much post it on my Facebook page every time the anniversary comes, that this is the fight that we have for just mothers wanting to fight for their children and wanting to be able to have choice. So when it came time for the pharmacies and all of these things, this is a result of us fighting. And no, I wasn't in elected office then. I was a mother fighting for the life of her son.
So, I heard you say a couple of times when you went down to Baton Rouge that Cedric Glover helped you fight these fights.
Correct.
So you telling me that Cedric Glover was down there getting things done on behalf of the people here in Shreveport? Because the reason I say that is not that I have any doubt. I've talked to Cedric Glover a bunch of times,
right.
So I know what he did. But I hear a lot of disparaging comments about Cedric Glover, and they try to make it as if he wasn't in Baton Rouge enough for their liking.
He was in Baton Rouge enough for this liking that it changed the lives of many. You have a pharmacy here. You have medicinal marijuana that is available here. You have, you're not going to jail for marijuana because of him here. You have, when you talked about the film credits, and when we talk about the Hollywood South, it's because of a lot of work that he did as the mayor and his relationships with people in Baton Rouge. So I'm sorry, I didn't have that experience with Representative Glover. These were the experiences that I've had, that it hasn't been anything that I've turned around that we didn't fight for collectively, that he did not do. He was hands-on for me. Same thing too, if I call Representative Jenkins, now Senator Jenkins, that if there was an issue that they could provide their support on, that's exactly what they did. And I think building those relationships are extremely important. Sometimes what can happen is that if some people may not get what they're looking for, then it's like, okay, they're not doing anything. Because I get that too. Like, okay, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
You can't make everybody.
Exactly. But when I'm talking about that, I don't want my life or your life to be ruined. And I'm watching people that can't get a house, they can't get a job, they can't get this, and you spending the rest of your life in jail because this your fourth offense, or you got 15 years of hard labor because you have a dime bag of weed.
Yeah, I want to give Cedric Glover a round of applause too.
You know,
I heard they got cookers in the dispensary. And they don't make it hard for the people that need their medicine to get their medicine. Shout out to them.
you know, and so you have your doctors here, you know, that are able to use. I tell people choice. I like for people to be able to have a choice, and it does not mean that you will ever use the service, but if you ever needed to, it's available to you.
Yeah, I have a friend who is suffering from like post-traumatic stress. He got shot, and his father got murdered, and you know, so he was dealing with a lot, and he was able to go get his car. Actually, he just was telling me about it like this week.
Yes.
So yeah.
If you ever went by the dispensary, it's always full.
I know this, right?
Always. I was like, golly, oh, so that's what a party is.
Let me ask you something about that, because I was reading, I don't want to acknowledge who he is, but he got a little news page. He say, when you get your medical marijuana card in Louisiana, that makes it to where you can't carry a firearm anymore.
I'm not aware of that. Yeah, I'm not aware of that. That is something else that somebody asked me, and I have to look that up.
Okay. Yeah, I know you're talking about. I ain't gonna say
Yeah, you ain't gonna acknowledge him.
Yeah, that old brother. But yeah. So with all that's going on here in Shreveport, we got a lot that's in the forefront of us. 50 Cent.
50 Cent effect.
Yeah, what's your perspective on 50 Cent coming to Shreveport, and you know he said something that it ignited all the ratchets.
Yeah. Like what's the leadership? The people in the leadership position. How y'all feel about the word ratchet and moving on from it?
I don't identify with ratchet. That's all I have to say about that. I am happy that 50 is here and chose Shreveport, Louisiana. I had a meeting with Mr. Jackson, and to be able to share things that happened of what we needed to in Shreveport, Louisiana, and those things are very important. Our leadership, our council worked very hard in that sense to make things happen for him to be able to be here. And 50 has invested in Shreveport, Louisiana. And as you can see, when you see him on social media, what you find is that he is always promoting Shreveport, Louisiana. All roads lead to Shreveport has an everlasting effect. And what you have to understand about him is that he's building legacy. You know, the Humor and Harmony weekend was just a footprint of what is to come. But when we're talking about production, that's long term. When we're talking about creating film, that's long term. I don't know if you all remember the film industry when it was at its height in Shreveport, but we could walk around anywhere downtown and there was a film crew, or you could see, you know, movie stars walking in. I was walking, that's when I was doing business with the casino and working for the casino at that time, and I walk in and I see Nicole Ari Parker, and I see Ice Cube sitting in the lounge at Celebrity Lounge. Or you turn here and you look and there's Cedric Glover. I mean, I said Cedric Glover, Cedric the Entertainer. Cedric the Entertainer. Anytime that I watch Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, then you know the last scene they at the Shreveport Country Club. You see these people walking around your city. I walked out in my neighborhood, and I can't remember the gentleman's name now, but he passed. He was in the Green Mile.
What his name?
Yes, I can't remember his name. But
Michael Duncan Clark.
Yes, I was, and then when I saw Queen Latifah,
So you're walking around the city and you're looking at all of these celebrities. But this is the residual effect of this. The residual effect is then I need to hire local beauticians, barbers. I need to hire construction crew. I need to hire audio crew. I need to hire these people because film lasts long, production lasts long. So you're looking at the longevity. I'm not looking at when you create a song and that's it. The concert is over. We're looking at what is going to be long term and then what is going to benefit you all. Who's to say that they're not going to be coming and sitting on your podcast? Because then they're going to be looking at what's hot. One touch can change your life forever, for the better. Out of this, Ebony Parsons, you see Andrea Bowman, you see all of these individuals that did work here that's moved on to Atlanta and doing hair and makeup and then coming back home and promoting Shreveport. I can remember when I was at the casino and I booked Patti LaBelle. When Patti LaBelle came, then I don't know if you know Larry the Voice Ellis. She was calling people to come on stage. She called him on stage. He sang, then he went on tour with her. This is the type of things that affect you long term of what happens that I don't think that people are looking at. And so you increase our real estate market, then you make Shreveport an attraction, which is going to drive economic development here. This is what we're looking at, because at this point, you want to make Shreveport this tourist attraction because tourism brings dollars. I don't think that when you look at Allendale and Lakeside that it's going to look the same in the next 24 months.
Yeah.
Because of how he's revamping the studio. Then remember, you got to hire people to be able to do that. You're going to hire producers. People are going to come here. Our airports and all of these things are going to change. These are the residual effects. Same thing with downtown. What's going to happen with downtown, because there is a TIF district around downtown, which when you have people there and they're spending money, that overage will provide for improvement for that area. Same thing like I did for Amazon and building a TIF district around the Amazon facility. That overage helps to build infrastructure and helps to create these economic development zones that goes in and further advances this.
So let me ask you, for the slow people like myself, when you say TIF district, what exactly is that?
It is, let me say it in the simple term. It is a district that is designed to help to improve the area. Okay? I'll give you an example. So I have a TIF district around Amazon. So there's a certain percentage of sales taxes that will happen around this particular corridor. That overage goes into another standard account. Let's just say I wanted some improvements with infrastructure around there. Instead of going even asking for a citywide bond, I can take out a bond in that area and improve the infrastructure around that area. If I wanted to go over and enhance and promote economic development in the area, I'm able to do that. Because you want to attract industry here. But I also want to make sure that we are attracting industry in our inner city neighborhoods. One of the pushes that I have in speaking with contractors is that I understand when you build out in Southeast Shreveport, but I need you to build in the inner city where the people are. The thing that is so great about 50 coming here is that, guess what? He has to build from the inside in, because everything over there is already gone.
Right.
So what's going to improve? Everything that's on the east side. This looks
Right.
All right, I don't know if you're aware of this. It's a local rapper and a regional rapper who wasn't kind of happy when 50 Cent said no more ratchet in their city, and one of them, he was mad because he wasn't invited to the party. He was stuck outside, and I don't know if you heard it or not, because nobody really listen to his music like that. But he made a diss song too. How do you feel about that situation?
I'm glad that 50 is here. And I'm glad that 50 is here. And if there is something that you want to do, then you need to do that. Period.
Make a lot of sense. So, I'm not gonna get too off in it, but that rapper that he's talking about, he had he was kind of upset that 50 spent such a large amount of money with our local police department, and my view was, that our police, they're normal people just as me, you, and him down there, and if they able to work and whatever put in overtime and they get money that they earned, it's not like he gave them anything. It's not like he took money out and just donated it to them. They actually worked.
And from my understanding, it wasn't just the police either. The fire department too. The people that work dispatch, all of them got that extra money too.
So,
right.
Public safety is the number one priority of government. Did you have any incidents?
No.
I feel real safe.
Okay. 4 days, nothing. Nothing. And you can't tell me that there wasn't an element there that was standing across each other, but the message was clear that we're not having this. This is this man's money. How are you going to tell somebody else what to do with their money? That's his money. That's not the city's money. And you have the same opportunity that if you want to invest in your city, then you do that. Mm-hmm. He said, this is what I want to do in the city of Shreveport. And contrary to that, I believe that I saw plenty of Louisiana people on the stage coming in, and then others that came themselves. These people came without a dime, without getting paid or doing anything. But our law enforcement, do you realize that we had SPD, we had the Cattle Parish Sheriff's Office, we had probation and parole, we had private security, we had our first responders, we had construction workers, we had all of these people that this man paid for. He paid for that because this is what he wanted to do. Set aside from the other significant investments that he has made already into downtown. What are you arguing about?
Well, so let me ask. I'm tired of beating around it, but so Hurricane Chris, has he ever came to the city council and tried to do any type of collective work with you all as far as anything within the city business wise, like?
Not since I've been here.
Because he said this wouldn't have happened without him. He said he made all this happen.
Okay.
So on to the next. The school board. We need a new superintendent. And from my understanding, they were allotted $70,000 for a process in finding a new superintendent from across the country, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
And doing this, we had a bunch of candidates for that position, but during one of the last meetings or two,
there I go. Here I hit my voice. Okay, so yeah, with the school board, from my understanding, they were allotted $70,000 for a process in order to find a candidate for a superintendent from across the country. During this, like the last school board meeting or two, one of the school board members made some type of motion to whereas they said they want to skip interviewing all of the candidates and only interview one candidate. And it's a candidate that has been a part of Cattle Parish School Board for a lengthy amount of time now. I'm not going to characterize how do I think his job performance was, but I will say that if you were allotted $70,000 to do a process, then you should go throughout that entire process. What are your views on what is going on with the school board, and how do you feel about them setting up a meeting at 8:00 at 9 o'clock in the morning when on a Wednesday when most people are going to be at work?
I attended that meeting this morning, just as I attended the meeting the week before. And I spoke at the meeting this morning, and my speaking was to the process, because I explained to them that I'm coming to them as an aunt at that time and not as a council person. And I had attended my nephew's back to school night, and his teacher went through the process that had to be followed in order for him to be able to achieve, this to move to the next level. I said that you spent $70,000 of taxpayers' money, and you provided them a process, and you need to follow that process out. So how can you tell our children that they need to follow a process and you don't do the same? You're the educational institution. And then I said, as an elected official, when I put back on my council hat, I said, we took an oath to listen to our constituents. Regardless if we agree or disagree, that's what we did when we knocked on those doors and said, vote for me. And this is why, because I'm going to listen to you. It's very difficult to tell parents to get involved in a process, and then they feel like their concerns are not heard. And you're sending your children to an institution for 6 to 7 hours a day. Not to mention what or what we instill in our children at home, but they're with you the majority of the day. And so don't tell them that this is what they need to do, and then you don't do it. I understand the passion that's had. I don't know Mr. Burton, so I can't speak to, who he is. It seems to be, a nice individual with a thorough background into the system. However, he's not responsible for the board's process. This is your process. You hired an outside consultant. Follow the process through. That's all the community is asking for you to do. Interview the top 3 candidates, top 6 candidates, or whatever. Why waste the individual's time if you're not going to do that? Because I would be upset if it was me, that you didn't give me a chance to, even level out to see what my scores were. And so I understand the passion that the community has. Some say it's rage or whatever, but listen, when children are involved and we know what our children come up against, we want to be involved there. And I would say again, do not spit on me and tell me that it's raining. Don't do that. Follow your process. You did this at 9 o'clock in the morning, where it would be difficult for parents who work in our environment that we in. Most of our parents, and you tell us that the majority of our children, they go to school, that they fall under the ALICE outline, that they're living right above the poverty level. So I can't come to a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm unable to do that because I have to work. And it doesn't mean I don't care about my children, but you got to care enough about me to want me to be a part of the process. Long time ago, Robert, I went to a meeting at the state level, and they did this report, and it was in Macomb, Mississippi. And so our school system is built upon the old. You have a 9-month, 3-month off. That was all designed because it was an agricultural thing of when you had to turn around here and work.
Right.
Now the whole premise has changed, which means that you need to change those premises as well. Even some things that I look at the city that we need to change, because now we're in a 24-hour city, which means that we're going to have to do things a little bit differently. That means that, hey, you may need to start your day late. There may need to be some people that work a little bit later in order to turn around here and get some things done. Again, when you really want people to be involved, then you make those things happen.
I heard that.
I know that's right.
So here in Shreveport, I like to say we're the premier podcast, right?
I can say that.
And we want to thank you for coming on our podcast, before going anywhere else and things like that.
Oh no, I mean, I appreciate what you all do and getting information out there, because that's critical. When I was speaking to a group of students yesterday at Southern, myself and other elected officials, I said, listen, we're gonna have to do a better job of doing that. Of getting information to you, coming to where you are, sitting down on the side and saying, hey, this is how we do this process. Because as you all know, how involved you were when with the sheriff's race and how that changed, it's because it was intergenerational. You all stepped up to the plate, you use the tools that you have, and here we are, we have our sheriff. So at the same time, that particular momentum needs to keep going. So that means that you come into the world where you are. We come where you are to say, hey, this is what's going on. Instead of telling you to come to us, we need to come to where you are.
I know. That's big, because, a lot of times, once a official becomes elected, they tend to not everybody, you know what I'm saying, but a lot of people they forget who they were when they first started their journey, right?
Right.
And it's important to humble yourself and come and actually, be a part and stay a part of the people, be amongst the people. And that's one thing I know about you. I see you out with the community a lot, I was up on over there by P Street one day when they was renaming the street,
yes.
And you was out there, so I know you gonna go where the people are.
And that's the kind of place everybody can't go with us.
so
But we went.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when we did the dedication over there, that gentleman meant so much to the people there, and changing the trajectory and the narrative that's there. How are we going to change anything without information? You all reach an audience that I would never be able to reach on my own. But they trust you all at that point, and so they're trusting you to get information and connect with the people. That's what this is all about. When you are in elected office, it doesn't mean that I shy away from you. It means that I build my audience at every level. I should be able to meet you exactly where you are.
Okay. So, this upcoming election, are you running for mayor?
No, I'm not. Don't say woo-wee.
Okay, I had to check and see, because I heard rumors and
I heard them too. I heard the rumors too. Not today. I am not running for mayor today. I have another council term that I can run, because I fulfill the seat of former Councilman Riley Bradford. So this is actually my first full term as a council person. So I have one more term that I can run, and I have some things that I still want to do. Okay,
I didn't know that, but yeah.
Yes.
So look, a lot of people be talking to me, and how you was saying they were pushing you to run. They be talking to me about, man, you should run. And I always tell them, I say, well, look, one thing I will not do, I'm not gonna run against Miss Tabatha Taylor. Cause why mess up something that's not broke? You see what I'm saying? Now there are a lot of, let me say it like this. There are council seats that I think improvement could be had, right?
There's always room for improvement.
Right. But when you have someone who's actually engaged with the people and doing the business of the people, then there's no need to try to come in and change that or step on that, because you're already in a direction of improvement, right?
And I appreciate that, because the thing is, one of the things that I try to do as a council person is stay in touch with the people who in the areas that I represent. If you ever followed me on social media, that I'm always posting on the neighborhood social media pages that they have to make them aware or abreast of what's going on. I think information is key because we perish for lack of it. You know, I'll send you a message and say, hey, this is going on. We need to post this. We need to do this. We need to do this.
Right.
Because I need to make sure that, hey, for my senior community, I may have to pick up the telephone and call them because they're not on social media. But then for the audience that you have, they are on social media or they are on this podcast. And so I think, and because I am a media person, I think you need to build relationships. You need to build relationships. And that's why I love the fact that you all have a podcast and you get information out there. You know, you get information out there that is critical to the growth and development of our community. You know, y'all can cut the chatter on whatever else that you all do and have that. But overall, what I look at is the fact that when there is something that is so important, you all put it out there and don't stop doing that.
For sure.
Don't stop doing that.
So let me ask. I have this man here. He's grown to be a good friend of mine, but he started out actually as my professor, right? And he's from the Cooper Road, just like yourself.
Okay.
Dr. Frederick Ellis, right?
Hey, Mr. Ellis.
He wanted me to ask, he said, what is a selling point for someone to remain and raise a family in District A or to relocate and live in District A?
What is the beauty of District A that sometimes that I forget, that I forget to tell people sometimes is the people. The people in District A want better for District A. We're surrounded by beautiful Cross Lake, somewhat surrounded by the Red River, which are entities that we definitely need to build. Our district goes from sometimes people that may not make all of the money to one of the wealthiest areas in the city of Shreveport. That's where we are. You have a median there. You have the access to parks. You have the access to schools. You have the access to business that is in District A. And yet we're still building because we also back up to other districts. We back up to West Shreveport, which you can see that they're building West Shreveport. Then we're back up, we're centrally located by interstates, which makes it easier to have access there. And so when you want to have a family and raise a family and build, it is right there. For me, this may sound crazy, but when I moved and wanted to move into my house, it was some things that was important to me. I wanted to make sure that I was close to my mother. I wanted to make sure that I was close to my favorite chicken place. Don't judge me.
To Manila?
My favorite chicken place. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I have access to banks, recreation, to hospitals. That's why I moved to where I moved. And so with that being said, that if I wanted those things for myself, I need the same thing for Allendale. I need the same thing for the Cooper Road. I need for them to be able to
Don't forget Lakeside.
That's right. Lakeside. And listen, I just picked up Lakeside, the other part of Lakeside. I just picked that up. I need for you to be able to have all of that, Robert. So that's a consistent fight for me. I see and I drive through my community all the time, and I think about what the possibilities are. There are a lot of things some things they want to come in there, and I'm like, no, I have enough of this already. I need to know how we change this. That's why I teach people about the adjudicated process, because I need you to buy land. I need you to buy it. I need you to be able to acquire it because you need access. You can go and buy a car, and they'll finance it for 7-10 years. And you trying to buy a house, you got to move mountains. And so I look at home ownership programs, and you pay $1,300 for a good apartment in Shreveport, Louisiana. You could do those same things and be disciplined enough for a home. If that's what you so choose, I need to make it at a point where it's available for you. And we have to get back to those basic principles. There are a lot of things and policies that were put in place at the city, and some that hurt our communities. And then even some of us, that when we got on, they told us to move and we needed to do this. And so that's why our neighborhoods look like the way that they look. And you have to have that accountability for people taking place, saying, hey, you're going to have to change how your neighborhood looks. It's nothing for you to cut your grass. It's nothing for you to do that edge your yard or edge your neighbor's yard. What happened to doing that? We can change all of that ourselves. But I want you to be able to acquire land. And so District A is that neighborhood, is that community that you can have all of that. And that's what I fight for.
All right, I got a question. I notice when I be on Facebook a lot of the women who be looking for houses, they say all the houses that they find, they be high, but they be outdated, like old wallpaper on the wall, like this old house, old wallpaper, old sinks and stuff, and that's why they rather get an apartment, because all the houses look outdated and old.
I think at some point, and if they working with the right realtor too, that's going to also be critical. Working with the right realtor, understanding the various programs that are out there is also key.
But not only like owning homes, but renting homes too.
Oh yeah, well,
they like the houses don't be up to standard.
I've seen that too. I have my fight with the slumlords. I have my fight with that as well. There are programs at the city for home ownership. There are programs in the state of Louisiana with the Louisiana Housing Corporation for home ownership. That these programs help you to build your credit, helps you to find you a home, help you to assist with down payment. And a lot of times some people don't know that, but it is. In certain areas in our city, there's so much money that they will give you. If you go and look at the Louisiana Housing Corporation, there are programs that they have there that assist you with down payment, that you can have something better and that you can leave a legacy. We have a lot of homes that, I believe you've seen a lot of neighborhoods and they build these houses and they had the 15-year lease. And then after you stayed in there 15 years, you had the opportunity to go over here to mortgage or do whatever. And some of those things fell through. Some of that was good in going in and saving our neighborhoods, but at the same time, you lack ownership. Because if you pass, you can't pass that on to your children. Do you not want to have something that you can pass on to your children that's theirs? You need to have something that's yours. I don't care when you talk about the wallpaper on this house. If you own it, it's yours. And one thing about it, there are individuals coming up in our neighborhood and they're buying up our properties. You need to buy these properties. Especially
up in the Allendale. And
if you go over there and look now, properties in Allendale, you got some that's like $64,000. I said, for real?
No.
You better jump on it.
I'm telling you. When you go, if you looked at Tyler Perry Studios, because he changed the trajectory of that neighborhood, then the property values went up, and then the people over there couldn't pay for it, and he went and paid all the property taxes over there. When you go and you start investing in neighborhoods, you always have to be careful for gentrification and where you would just outsource people out of their neighborhoods where they can't go over there and pay it. That's why it's important that you all buy lots. You got to build one house at a time. So we need to get it now. Yes. Throughout the city. And let me tell you, the parish process is easier than the city's process and with adjudicated properties. I'm going to do that class again on adjudicated properties because I want you to be able to get land. You need to have that. I did not understand that when my grandmother used to always talk about that, and she was like, you got to get a house, you got to do this, you got to do this, until I got older. And I understood the process that when you have those access, you build equity.
It's something I heard a long time ago. When I think I heard Minister Louis Farrakhan say, he say land is one thing you can't build no more.
Correct.
That's something you can't create.
They ain't create no more
Yeah.
land. And so if you get people that buy up all the land and then start to build what they want, they start to build what they tell us that we can't build. Then we push you out. The neighborhoods change. Because now all of this is coming in. You right here and you can build on this block. You can change that.
So land basically gives you a say-so. It gives you power.
It gives you power. It gives you access. It's the same thing if you go in and you buying stock. You have these things. You have these dividends. You have a portfolio. That you don't fool yourself about the number of people around here that have several houses. They have several houses that they own. I need for us to do the same thing. Literally, that if you can do a $600 pair of shoes or a $1,000 purse, you cannot tell me that you can't take that same investment and go and say, I'm gonna go over here and look on this, go through these roles, go through the process, and I'm gonna go and get this. Or I'm gonna go over here and buy this. You may be utterly surprised. And sometimes what happens is that we are afraid to go and talk to somebody about that. Same thing when it comes to life insurance. You put them babies in life insurance when they little. You build a policy, you build cash value. When they go to the school, you take the loan out against the insurance policy. When you pay it back, guess who you paying back? Yourself. That's how it's always been done. That's why everybody took a life insurance policy out on us. At that time, and then you had all these fights with the various banks and stuff that they took life insurance policies out on you. You do the same thing with your children. You do the same thing with yourself. That's leaving a legacy for your family. You take those dollars and that's what you do.
Yeah, we learning the people up tonight.
I know that's right.
So let me ask you, growing up on the Cooper Road,
Ooh, yeah.
you go to
Tumanellas.
what you order?
Hey, you gotta go get them chicken strips. And we ain't had chicken strips back then.
Y'all didn't?
No, we did not have chicken strips back then.
Oh,
Okay? Because we killed our own chickens.
Oh yeah, y'all were farming and stuff. You like my daddy. My dad ain't Robert Taylor. He old farm. They call him Sweet. He a old farm dude, man. He can make me sick. All he want to do is work.
The chicken strip that you had was a chicken strip that your grandmother, when she ran that chicken's neck and cut his head off and that chicken ran through the yard and fell over, and you sat there and had to pluck that chicken to get to that meat. That's the chicken strip that you had.
Even right now, you can drive down the street on the Cooper Road, see turkeys, goats, all type of stuff.
Which, let me tell you something, was kind of hard for me sitting on the council too when people talk about their animals, and I was like, oh, because we grew up like that. I grew up watching horses go down the street or cows go down the street because we're an agricultural community. So it was nothing that the roosters woke us up or you see all the guineas walking across the street because you grew your food.
Right.
You grew your food, you killed your animals, you slaughtered your pigs, you did all of that. So I was like, oh, what's not natural about it? I was like, okay, this different.
Yeah.
Laws have changed.
We city. Yeah,
we're in the city now. We're in the city now. It was different for me because I didn't realize what a Shreveport Police Department was because we had the sheriff. So when they talk about community policing, we always had community policing because the sheriff always stopped by our house. You know, they stop by the house or they stop by your house and you eat and everything. So I didn't even know a Shreveport police officer.
So what did you think about the fact that Shreveport did annex the Cooper Road?
When I pulled the information on it, not everybody signed up for that. And this is why I fight hard for the Cooper Road, because the Cooper Road saved the city of Shreveport. At that time, there was a mandate from the Department of Justice. You needed some African American people in your city. Okay? And so I looked on the list and I didn't see my grandmother's name that signed off on that, because this is one thing you had to remember about the Cooper Road. The Cooper Road was self-sufficient. We built our own infrastructure, our own water system, our own fire department. We had all of our stuff. I remember my grandmother, we built their house from the ground up.
The Cooper Road, one of the biggest black communities in the United States of America.
Yes, it was at that time. We were larger than Harlem. And now I think we're third largest at this point. If my data isn't off. You have everything within a 5-mile radius. And so when I fight hard for that area, it is because I know that we haven't received our due diligence being annexed on to the city. I still have streets that are not up to city code. And so when you see me fighting, or when I fought for those streets when they were trying to cut them, I was like, you're not doing anything when it comes to cutting them. Or you're going to fix the streets that need to be done. And so, people looking and you want to call me angry. No, I know the difference. I know the difference. Same thing when it comes in Allendale or what you have to do.
Okay, so because when I've talked to some people from some of the men from the Cooper Road that's a lot older than me, and they were basically saying, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but they were basically saying that there were a select few of people from the Cooper Road that kind of like, quote unquote, sold the Cooper Road out in order for the Cooper Road to be annexed into Shreveport. I'm not sure of the accuracy of it, but what do you think when you hear something like that? Like, do you think it was in the best interest of the Cooper Road? Because the reason I say that is because from my understanding of the Cooper Road and the history that I was taught, and as you just stated, Cooper Road had all the institutions that you needed to be a community. And since becoming a part of Shreveport, some of that has like deteriorated.
Correct. Everyone wasn't on board with that. As I remember the conversations from my grandmother. And even coming into the council office, I tried to, pull a lot of the paperwork about that, about the Department of Justice ruling. And that's why I say again that I fight hard for what we need, because yes, we did have a grocery store. We had all of these things within our community. You go from Head Start to college, never had to leave the area. There was a walking trail to Southern University. And also keep in mind, and this is what I have to tell people that they have to remember, you didn't have a black elected official onto the city council until 1978. There was only one, okay? The first time that you had 4 blacks on the city council was when Adrian Perkins took office. So there were a number of policies and procedures that was created that was not advantageous for African-American communities. And so you say, what's the importance of the vote? That, we didn't have the representation. Black council members had to fight, had to really, really fight. That's why if you look at those council meetings back then, you would see that. And it didn't matter that if you had the first black mayor sitting in that seat. If that mayor did not have 4 votes,
council, yeah,
you wasn't gonna get anything done.
Right. And that's why I feel like a lot of our leadership get a bad rap, because it's not like it's in the way our government is set up. We have a
mayor council form of government.
So we have checks and balances in the fact that we try to blame, we had a black, this is black. But that black person had to get those other members to go along with what they needed in order for anything to be pushed forward or pushed through. And if in majority of those times, they weren't getting that type of cooperation.
Correct.
So now this is one of the first times, I believe, is it this council or the last council?
It was the last council. So under Mayor Perkins, when you had a majority African American council for Probably 6 months.
Okay, so we had a majority American council for 6 months under Mayor Perkins, and even this go round, now we have a white Republican mayor, and a majority black council, so they have to work together. So I want people to understand the dynamics before they go off the lever. Just what black leadership? Well,
Correct.
You got to give black leadership a chance, a true chance. And I'm gonna go out on a limb. This is not the words of Councilwoman Tabatha Taylor. This is the words of Robert Bruchon. Councilwoman Fuller worked a lot closely with a lot of the white community. I'm just gonna put that out there, right? That's not the words of Councilwoman Taylor. That's directly from me. So you have to give our people a chance when it comes to talking about black leadership and what they have and have not done. It's just started, but you want to say anything about that?
We're looking at this point when we look at our neighborhoods and seeing the things that we desire to change. There are some things that we can be expedient about, and there are other things that, as you can see, take time. However, I can say, consistently pushing and putting things in place that whoever comes after me will be able to benefit that for community. Tomorrow, we get to meet with the prospective economic development person, and I will share what my vision is for my district, because what we see a lack of is the development in the inner city community. And if you're not building the core of your city, then you lose it. We have to build inside the core of where the people are. Everybody's not going to go out here. You have to build where people are. And sometimes I get really disenchanted when they say, well, these people rent, they don't pay property taxes. I beg to differ. Because if I'm paying rent to you, you taking that money to pay the property taxes. So it may not be my property, but I'm paying some taxes on it.
And that's my thing. Like, from the community I come from and the people I was raised around, like, we was taught to respect the people that help us take care of our family.
Right.
Why it's like some of the owners, they don't respect the renters. The renter is actually helping you take care of your family and do what you have to do.
Especially if they're not destroying your property. Especially if they're not destroying your property. The biggest thing for me, and I don't know if you and me taking on the slumlord and we go to court next Wednesday, the biggest thing for me is the living conditions that you had in my area, and then, people not being able to do any better. We have a real housing crisis in Shreveport. We really do. Affordable homes in Shreveport, Louisiana. And there's one thing that I consistently talk to the mayor about, and he knows that, which is another thing that I say, this is going to be on your priority list, because you have to address these issues that affect us. When we're looking at the median income for some men and women working, and then them having to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to have a decent home. When I looked at some of the apartments that my constituents were living in, it was horrific. And then you have people that you walk up in the house, there were no floors. Sometimes there were no walls.
No floors. They walking on water like Jesus?
Exactly.
Man.
And so I get these calls all the time, but when I tell you that we're in a critical housing shortage, we have a critical housing shortage. So that's why it's important for mixed-use development. I know that everybody is not going to buy a home. However, just as you said, if you get ready to rent, you should not be giving me the crumbs from the table. Don't give me something where the sink is outdated, mold is on the floor, my child has to breathe it in, and the mom or the daddy is trying to do the best thing that they can do. Those are real issues that we have in this city.
Yeah, and because a lot of apartments that I've been in, mold is
Oh my God.
mold is like the new. It's the thing. It's what it is. Like I'm shocked when I don't see mold nowadays when I walk in these apartments.
I had one lady, she was walking to the stairs and fell through the stair.
What the?
Had plyboard. I would go and then there I could see a mouse or a rat over in the corner where they trying to fight these things off. And these are the things that I'm dealing with as a council person that you all may not know about or that I see. And I'm trying to figure out the way, how do we correct that? How do we fix this? And me going up against these owners, trust me, is a big deal. I had people to say, Tabatha, I'm praying for your protection because I'm telling y'all, there are some things that we're going against that goes against big corporations that we're literally fighting against just for you all to have the amenities that you need. So if you say to me, you ain't doing nothing, I'm taking great offense. Yes, I am, because at some points, I'm putting my life out there.
Yeah, because them corporations will make you disappear.
Correct.
That's big money you playing with.
Yeah.
They are the same way they don't come answer when the judge tell them they need to come to court. They don't show up for court. They can easily send somebody you won't never know who they is, and they come do their dirty work and gone on.
So the city is at this point going in and taking up this cause. For sure with these slumlords, but that's another thing. That was 2 to 3 years fighting. It started under the Perkins administration and moved to the Arsenault administration. That's what started then. And
how hard has it been to even locate these slumlords?
Oh, Lord Jesus Christ. It's been something, but I'm gonna give you something else that's good. I had to credit, and she's no longer here. And Lord, her name escapes me. But it was an investigative reporter from Channel 3, and then you had Tamar and Jasmine and Adam from the Advocate for Shreveport Bossier Advocate. I'm gonna tell you that those reporters did not let me down in any capacity when going after finding these people. They found them. They called them.
Yeah.
They had them on video. They did their due diligence because improper housing affects us all. So get back to your point when you talk about the school system, that comes the other fight because we have children that are waking up in the morning with these conditions. So when you hear people fighting, that's what they're fighting against. When I worked in schools in the program, some of the things that were needed were not backpacks. They were shoelaces. It was underwear. It was socks. It was food. And you got to remember that some of these children in some of these homes, when they go home, they have to turn into mini adults. And then when they come back to school, then they have to be children. So you're dealing with this cultural change.
So it wasn't backpacks and potato chips?
Oh, it wasn't backpacks and potato chips.
You hear that, Lisa?
Was needed, okay? What was needed was tangible items. So let's go into place with Maslow's hierarchy. I had children that would come in and I say, well, why are you sleeping? It was like, well, our daddy got out of jail, so we went to go and do this right here. My grandmother, she taken me because my mama went over here. These are real life issues. And so we're holding these children to this standard, yet dealing with some things in the environment that aren't fruitful. Or if I'm living in a house and I got mold, I'm breathing it in. If I don't have running water, I'm breathing it in, because then you have children that are in survival mode.
Right. And it's hard to learn anything once you're in survival.
So that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these apartments, because I'm like, you have this baby declared a public health emergency. The mother had a baby. The baby was 1 month old, and she walked out of her house and she was walking in sewer. So when you ask me, do you have any leeway? Hell no, I don't. Because you don't care about how you had any of my constituents and what they had to go through.
I know that's right.
So I ain't got nothing for you. Grace and mercy ain't extended to you. At some point in time, grace and mercy has its place. This ain't it.
Since we talking about people that we talking about people that take advantage of less fortunate people. How do you feel about people taking advantage of intellectually disabled people for profit?
You know that's fighting words for me.
Yeah, I just because you know it's going on right now.
Understand this. My son has a disability. My son stopped talking at the age of 2. I went through a grieving process that I couldn't even tell you. So I became his voice, which gave me a lot of the courage that I didn't know that I had, because I'm going to always be a mother. And so my protection for against those that have intellectual disabilities, because it doesn't mean that I can't do, but there are different supports in place that are needed. Right. So no, I have nothing for you when you take advantage of the elderly, of children, of those that have special needs. Because you have to be, there is a certain level of strength and courage that you have to even have, and love that is, unparalleled when you have a child or an adult that you're taking care of that cannot take care of themselves. You are responsible for that voice. Ain't got nothing for you for that. I don't. I've had this fight, and I bet you anybody at Caddo Parish School Board could tell you that sometimes they hated to see Tabatha Taylor coming. But my fight was not only for my son, it was for every other mother and father that did not have a voice or feel like their voice that couldn't get heard, wouldn't be heard, that they did not have the opportunity to be at the school because they had to work or they had to go take care of their baby, or it was difficult for them to find a caretaker to assist them. So God blessed me to be able to go out there and be that voice, to do that. So when you take advantage of these people, I ain't got nothing for your ass.
Ooh-wee.
Nothing. So at that point, again, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. You healthy today. You could turn around and something happens, and then somebody has to turn around and take care of you. Would you want the person that has to take care of you to take advantage of you, to leave you in your own feces or in your own urine, or don't feed you, or take all of your money and do whatever it is that they want to do with it because they know that you are incapable of really speaking for yourself? Would you want that? And then do you want me to extend you some grace and mercy because you had the common sense that you knew better, but you did it anyway, but now you want me to feel bad for you? I don't feel bad for you. You need to pray, because you going to pray to God for real, and you would tell Satan to deal with you than you would with any parent that you take advantage of their child, be it a mother or a father. Because I'll tell you in a heartbeat, don't mess with the big cheese. I don't care what you say about me, but don't bother my son.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that.
I know that's right.
Yeah, we had your classmate on Craig Lee, and when we asked him about that same question, he expressed that he think that the remedy for that would be the death penalty.
If the system ends up dealing with you, you think about something. One of the greatest fights that I've ever had to have is for the protection of my son, and when he's not in my presence. Okay? So I'm intolerable of you taking advantage of anyone in any state, whereas they can't do for themselves. Or even if they can speak and you know that they have, an intellectual deficit or some, and you take advantage of it, you the scum of the earth. You scum of the earth. I'm sorry, you just are. Because I will say it again. You healthy today. You just think about something. You can go out there and have a car accident. You can have a stroke. you can have something that will put you flat on your back, and the seeds that you plant will come back to you. Somebody can go, leave you in a facility and never thinking somebody, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What are you going to do? And you know how I grew up, we took care of each other. We looked out for each other. That same premise for me led me to city, to the state, to go over here to fight for my child. Again, as a result of me fighting along with other parents and along with individuals that took up my cause, now parents have resources statewide in the state of Louisiana. You have health insurance for children with autism because there was a representative down in Baton Rouge whose child was affected by that. And a representative up here, Representative Patrick Williams and Floyd Kersey, that fought for it. Patrick Williams didn't have any children. He took up the cause because of Dominique. Then you have Families Helping Families, Region 7, and those women that are in their facilities that have those children with disabilities, Chanel, Monica, all of those people that turn around here and fight. Mr. Lewis, I thank God for Attorney Ron Latier, Elise Latier, all of them that took up that fight to write letters and legislation. For Dr. Rosalind Tisdale, same thing. These people here that made the difference for individuals with intellectual disabilities. So again, I don't have anything for you when you take advantage of children, those with disabilities, or the elderly. I don't have nothing for you.
So we had Amara Hossain on. We was talking about basically the capacity that our community holds nowadays. Do you think that we hold? I'll put it like this: do you think we will ever get back to what you just said, taking care of each other? Do you think we will ever get back to that place? Because I'm not gonna lie, when I was a child, I used to go out and we would go to the park and stuff like that. There was a bunch of kids at the park, you know, it was a bunch of adults at the park too, you know. Everybody we was all running together, talking together, our social skills was up because, you know, we was around each other. Correct. We was dealing with each other. It's disheartening now because even to bring the school board in with it, like I was saying, a lot of people just don't. And I understand the difficulties that dealt with the school board at the time, but even beyond that, dealing with other things, a lot of people just don't care.
Right.
Like I was telling you, it was more people ready to stand behind these local artists being mad about the ratchet word other than going to the school board and standing up for their children.
That's the kind of stuff that bothers me. That bothers me a great deal. But do I think that we have a community that is compassionate, that can come together? I do, because I've seen it. But I think that it takes us to change the narrative. When they see you taking those steps, then you invoke that in others. Because when they see you doing it and you doing it, that brings about the change. You see what I'm saying? Where I felt that we were derelict in our duties is we wanted so much for you all to have the things that we didn't have, that some things we didn't transfer on to you that we needed to. Because we wanted to, okay, we're going to have the best for our children, we're going to do this, and they're not going to have to want for stuff like we wanted for some.
You mean like worth ethic?
Yeah, some points that can cripple you. We need to go back and instill those particular values that's there, that was instilled in us. You guys have access to so much stuff. Our kids have access to so much information too soon. And I think Representative Phelps said it best yesterday, that at some point, I just want children to be children. I want them to be able to go and play. I want them to go out and play in the neighborhood regardless of where they live, without the fear of getting shot. I want them to be able that if they wanted to go walk to the corner store or whatever, get some candy, then they were able to do that. But we live in a different time. And so the point of looking out for each other, I'm tired of us being in competition, that I got to do better than you. I got to do this right here, or I'm competing with you. If you got a podcast that's great, why I can't support you? Why I can't support you? Okay, so both of y'all have podcasts. Trust me, it's enough information to go around. I don't have to go over here to down you in order to uplift you. I don't have to do that. And so this competitive spirit that we have, that we cancel out each other, that needs to change, especially in our community. You know, we've been blessed with a number of things. We've been blessed with a number of gifts. But I think sometimes we get this point of wanting to be seen that we're not listening. We're not listening to what's being said. Or we get to the point that we feel that we don't need to listen to you. We don't need to listen to our kids, because we know I'm always a student of learning. I'm always open to learning and saying, okay, well, what's next? Well, what y'all doing? What is that? I listen to some of y'all podcasts and just be laughing my tail off. I be like, I can't like that. I can't like that. But, you know, some things, you know, that are there, it's like, okay, so this is what we're dealing with. So this was going on in our community. So this is what's happening on this side, because I read a lot. And I read a number of things, good, bad, or indifferent. But in order for me to be able to connect or relate in the position that I'm in, I believe that I have to do that in order for me to speak the language that needs to be spoken. Because how can I speak on something that I've never experienced?
Makes sense. We had... Actually, I don't remember if it was our last guest or was I just talking to somebody. But I know somebody that was over in the Scandinavian countries, and they were saying how, like, at nighttime, like, you'll see, and it'd be pitch black outside, but you'll see a bunch of kids outside, you know, just roaming and everything, because they was like, they don't really worry about crime like that because it's just not the same as here in America. What do you think, like, what do you think will be our biggest, what do you think we have to change in order to put the biggest dent into crime here in Shreveport? Or I'm not going to say in Shreveport, I'm going to say in District A, even though, you know, we don't have too much going on the lakeside anyway.
And we don't. And we really don't. And that's the truth, because we don't. It's a morality issue. I can author as much legislation as I want to, and it's not going to stop you if it's purpose in your heart to do it. It's a morality issue. And it's literally what you purpose in your heart to do and purpose in your mind, that this is what you want to do. And that's a hard thing. One of the things that I see a lot of that they probably don't talk about are our suicide numbers. They're up. There are a number of people committing suicide in this city.
Don't that speak to, like, the despair, though?
And so that tells me that at some points there's a spirit of hopelessness. And so when we had the Humor and Harmony weekend, what was so harmonious about it to me was to seeing the intergenerational connection and the embodiment of that, along with the crossing of racial lines, coming together. And there was a spirit of hope. And we really did go through withdrawals when the dome was taken down. I was like, golly, what a dome. Because for that moment, for 4 days, we came together. We laughed. We danced. You know, we put on our good clothes. We hung out. And we had a good time. And believe it or not, that's what I remember about Shreveport growing up. That we had those things. And it wasn't, even when you met with the first responders, they were smiling, you know? And for our children, it is hard when you know that I grew up too in the heart of gang violence. And one of the things that our parents wanted to do was to make sure that we went away to school. So we wouldn't get caught up of being an innocent bystander during the cross of gunfire. That we would drive up and down the street and there was always a drive-by shooting. It was something. And so, you know, a lot of that changed with the number of policing and then the community getting involved. I think we have to get back to the village.
Right. And I'm going to tell you, and that's part of the reason I asked you that question, and you just sparked something in my mind. Doing 50 Cent's Humor and Harmony when we was all down there, see, there's a lot of things I know and people I know. So I'm going to just be flat out, though. I seen people downtown that I know for a fact have serious issues with one another.
Correct.
I've literally seen them by each other and nothing happened. And to see that was kind of amazing to me. You know, they may have, the worst they probably did was like look, ugly looks at each other, you know. But other than that, really, nothing physical happened. Right. Nothing violent happened. I'm trying to understand how can we build on that. Like, if there was able to be that successful with knowing what's going on, why can't we have more things like that to where it be you know, successful like that? Basically, you know, we getting along. Even if we're not friends, we ain't gotta be friends.
Correct.
But we can get along in the same space.
That weekend, Shreveport had a common goal, regardless of what our identities are. We had a common goal. And we had a person that we wanted to see and we wanted to be a part of that growth. So what that told me is that if I'm seeing two opposing sides, that somewhere in your heart of hearts, you have a hope or a spark that brings you together. That is one portion that I call the 50 Cent effect. In his life, he's had some challenging moments. And when he sent out a message that said, you're going to get on this plane because there's no more ratchet, there is a message that's there. Because I think it was less about the term and more about what comes with it. We're not doing this. We're moving into a different direction. And I think a number of individuals really want to see what direction that we're going in. And I think, too, that it's a respect for that man, regardless of what some people say. Because there is a situation and there are people that as you said, that you know that y'all could diffuse a situation that I could not because of the respect that you have and you offer this method of hope. And I think that's what he did for that weekend, to say, oh, this is not just something this is really happening. He made the naysayers say, oh, no, this is really happening. And this is what we want to do. And this is how we want to move. Because regardless of him doing film and industry, he's still in that world of music. And music is this universal language that actually brings all of us together in that sense. And so, again, no matter what, Robert, people have to feel at some point that there is a hope for a change and a beginning and something that they can build towards and something that they can move to. We have 4 days of activities, day and night, A-list celebrities in our city, in this city. These are the things that we say that Shreveport is capable of. So I agree with you that we have to find a way to build on that. So whatever it is that he comes back to do, we're going to have to build from that because he has a 3-part plan. You got a 3-part plan that involves film, that involves. So if you look at 50 Cent's proposal, it's a 3-part plan that he discussed that literally speaks about home ownership, film industry, as well as working with our youth. I think you've heard Mr. Hall when they said they want to set up media components into all of the schools, and I need to tell y'all how important that is.
Right.
Because what's missing, I think, is allowing children to use their creativity. I think that's the problem that we have with all these standardized tests. That I think teachers are at a disadvantage when they really can't teach and explore the creativity of our children. And so I'm glad that he is looking at a significant investment in our children.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it was fun. This was fun. I learned a lot as well.
Yes,
and
I do too.
And I want to thank you for coming on as my council person.
Yes.
This is my council person, in case y'all ain't know.
Yes.
This is gay, at both of my spots, both the spots that I be at.
And both of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is my council lady.
Yes.
So,
it's my constituent. It's my constituent doing great things.
I want to thank you for coming on, and we really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And we don't take this lightly because you could have been anywhere else tonight. And but you decided to come kick it with us.
Yes.
And our audience and our constituents.
Yes.
Let Red Hat was here.
Speak to y'all constituents.
if Red Hat was here, that's what he called them, his constituents.
I know it.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you again, and this was big for me. I appreciate it.
You are more than welcome.
I'm Pac-Man, the Hood's Voice Box.
I'm your boy next door to Dunn, your favorite co-host in Emotion City.
I'm Councilwoman Taylor, representing District 8.
This ain't my business, but I just know about it.